Hello and welcome to Magical Travel Adventure. I am Lauren, your host, and today we are going to talk about what it's like to be on a cruise and getting off for your excursions. Sometimes people have a lot of questions on what are we actually going to be doing on this cruise and what is it like to get off for those excursions? So I'm here today to talk about that with you. Again, if you're new here, I am Lauren. I am a travel advisor. My information is below. So if you would like some help booking your next cruise or Disney or Universal vacation, you can reach out to me below. So let's talk about getting on a cruise. We've gotten on our cruise, and if you missed the video on embarkation day, you could go check that out. It's below in the show notes, and that will help you to figure out what it's like to get on a cruise. Now, once you're on this cruise, you have your own room. Okay. So you have booked this room that's included in your cruise fare. And depending on what kind of room you have, this is Disney ships that I am first showing. I'm kind of showing some Disney and Disney and Universal, Disney and Royal Caribbean ships here. So you can kind of just see. And these pictures are just trying to help you. These rooms, obviously, if you have a regular balcony room, you just typically have a bed and a couch that turns into a bed and a bathroom. If you have some of the suites, it is a little larger. So you have some sitting area, some place to work, some place to sit and eat if you really want to. I really highly recommend if it's your first time on a cruise, you really want that balcony stateroom because it's just helpful to have that extra space outside and to see what you're going past. And if you're used to higher accommodations, you're really going to want that suite to just make yourself comfortable. And if there's multiple people in the room besides, if you have your kids and things like that, it just gives you that space to kind of spread out a little bit. Especially if you do naps with kids still, you're really going to want that separate room, separate space, kind of like you do have in those suites. Now, again, for Royal Caribbean, it's very similar. Royal Caribbean has some more extensive suites depending on what room, what ship you're going on. So that does make a difference. And they even have different levels of balconies. So in some of the larger ships on Royal Caribbean, there is an ocean view balcony, but there is also a neighborhood balcony, which actually looks internal into the ship. So kind of decide what it is that you might want. When you're thinking about these rooms, I really enjoy having a balcony. I think it's almost a necessity for me. I do get I can be very sensitive in seasickness. So I find it very important that I be able to step outside if I need to get that fresh air and just to actually be able to see, not just see what's happening, but if I needed to step outside, see it. Sometimes stepping out onto your balcony and seeing how much you're not moving helps you when you're seasick. I know this is like a weird thing to say. So that's just information on Royal Caribbean. And their suites are amazing. There are so many different types of them. And they have junior suites, which actually do make which might be something that people are interested in. Those are the ones typically that start having bathtubs. So on Disney ships, you will get bathtubs. On Royal Caribbean ships, depending on where you are in the ship or what type of room you have, you will not have a bathtub if you have kids. So that is important to know. Now, when you're on the ship, your basic dining is included. And what that means is there is dining that you sign up for. And on Royal Caribbean, how it works is you either pick the 2 times or you can pick My Time Dining. Now, I recently got off a Royal Caribbean ship and there was nothing called My Time Dining, although you did sign up for it. There were as an early seating, like a 5:15, and then like a 7:45 seating. And My Time Dining was 6:45. It wasn't, you couldn't just show up whenever you wanted. They gave you a specific time. So that was a little annoying. So we ended up changing ours. I like to do My Time Dining because I don't always know when I want to go eat. And I don't eat a ton always in the main dining room because when I go on a cruise, we're doing a lot of excursions and our time doesn't always meet up with the dining time. The time I eat in the dining room is typically the days that we are at sea for the whole day. But other than that, I don't if I'm on a Royal Caribbean ship, I'm not eating in the main dining room. So you have to kind of decide what it is. If you want my time dining, where you typically pick your dining time, or if you want your specific times, the early or late seating. Now, the other option that they have is the buffet, and the buffet is typically open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It does close in between each of those times, so it's not open all the time. But I think it opened at 6 a.m. every morning for breakfast and closed at 8 p.m. every night for dinner. Sometimes it went to 9 p.m. for dinner because of time changes that we were on. So it will show you in the app when it's available. And I really like the buffets. So um, it's just easier sometimes, especially with a child. It makes life easier. Now, on Disney, it works a little differently. Disney does have dining, the main dining, and it does have its cabanas for the buffet. But how dining works on Disney is there's 3 restaurants, and depending on what ship, you're going to have different restaurants, and you rotate between those 3 restaurants. So with Disney, it's kind of like an experience, and your kids are more entertained with that dining experience. So I like doing the dining on Disney ships. And we do use cabanas, for lunchtime and breakfast time, depending on what our cruise is for the time. But I would say for Disney, if you have kids, you want that early dining time and you need to book that as soon as you can. But the main dining room is a good spot for you. And I will say on Disney ships, cabanas is not always open for dinner. So just know that. You really have to check the app and it kind of depends on the ship. So check that out. Now, what is there to actually do on a cruise? Now, I'm just covering Royal Caribbean and Disney with these pictures, but like if you were going on Norwegian or Princess or things like that, they have similar things to this, but there are some things that Royal and Disney do kind of above everyone else. So over here is Royal, and they're known for having these big ships with pools and water slides and the rock climbing, and then these tube slides. These are dry slides, you're wearing clothes and going down these slides. So that's what Royal Caribbean is like really, really, really known for. Now, in Disney ships, they're known for their kids clubs. Their kids clubs are for kids to be dropped off and that they can play in these very expansive rooms. Um, and they have different themes depending on what ship you're on, depending how old your kid is. So your kids can be playing in a Toy Story themed room. And this is important depending on what kind of a vacation you're having and if you want to utilize the kids clubs. I've never put my child in the kids clubs on Royal Caribbean, so I can't really say what it is like there. And my son is not the kind that typically wants to get dropped off to a kids club. So I'm not even sure on a Disney ship he would ever go on one. He's never been on a Disney ship. So we'll see someday. And they often have, this is on Royal Caribbean, but they often have like miniature golf courses here. But again, on Disney ships, they will also have, slides and pools, and they have multiple pools on Disney ships so that, you know, there is a more kid pool area and there's a splash pad and things like that. And both ships kind of have arcades that you can do. And this is just a general overview. There are places to just sit. There are places that you might be able to just read a book. There are business centers where you can do things. There are bars that you can do things on. Royal Caribbean does have casinos on their ships. Disney does not have any casino on their ship. So understand that might sway you depending on which way you're thinking about doing a cruise. That might make a difference for you. But these are just some things that you can do. There are also activities going on all the time on the cruise ships. every day in the app, you will be able to see what activities are going on the cruise. They are having bingo, they are having trivia, they are doing all their there are special ones that you can pay for that are doing like wine tastings or tequila tastings and things like that. So don't think that there's movie theaters on them. At night, there are shows that you can go see. And how it works is you dine and then you go see a show, or you go see a show and then you go to your dining time. And you can kind of decide if that's something that you want to go to, if you want to go see a movie. Sometimes they release movies out at sea. So, all those things, there's plenty of things to do on a ship, um, especially on those days of sea. And there are specific ships that people go on to just get on the ship. They don't even care about getting off the ship, they care about being on the ship and trying the different things. On a lot of the Royal Caribbean ships, there's 7 neighborhoods, and they have all these different restaurants. They have all these different things that you can do. And you could be on that ship a whole week and not get to everything. So just know that there's plenty, plenty to do on the ships. Now, on days that there are excursions, with Royal Caribbean, it's different than Disney, but for basically all ships, it's the same. Royal Caribbean still gives you pieces of paper saying what's happening every day. And this is a picture of it right here from our most recent cruise. And it was just, this is what's happening for the day. This is how you get off the ship. This is the floor that you're going to get off the ship. But on Disney, everything is in the app. So, in your room or in the app, you'll be able to see instructions on what's going to be happening the next day. And if you have booked an excursion through the cruise line, you will get tickets, or your tickets will be available on the app, depending on what kind of a ship you're on. And it will say on those tickets what time you need to get off, or if there is a special location on the ship that you need to meet at first before you get off. And it kind of depends on what kind of an excursion you're doing. So just make sure you know how to do that. If you're going to one of the private islands like the Disney owns or that Royal Caribbean owns, for the day on your cruise ship, just know that they'll have information about what time you can get off, and you can just kind of like walk off the ship. When you get off the ship for any excursion, or if you're just getting off to explore wherever you are, you do need your card to get on and off the ship, and you do need your ID. So, depending on what kind of a port it is, you might need your passport as opposed to your license. So, just make sure that you know that. Um, and it should tell you how you are getting off the next day. Sometimes you can just walk off on a certain floor and you walk off a gangway, and there you are on the road or at the port that you're at. Other times you have to do something called tendering, which means the boat is close to the um, port, but not quite. So you have to get off and get on these small boats, and these small boats then will take you to land. And you just need to understand that tendering obviously takes more time. We had a ridiculous experience when we were in Alaska. It took over an hour to go like 10 feet off the boat. It was not fun. So understand what kind of how you are going to get off the ship, because you'll need more time if you're getting on or off the ship based on that also. Um, every day a return time will be given, and that is a strict time. So if it says to be back at 3:30, you really want to be back at like 2:30 to really make sure that you're on the ship ahead of time. We had people running at the very end trying to get on the ship when we were recently in Alaska. If you're on a tour, they will bring you back. And if you're on a tour through the cruise line, and let's say they're running late, we were actually running late on one of our tours, but it was through the cruise line, and we made it back on time. We did not make it back on time, but they held the ship for us, because that's one of the guarantees of having an excursion through the ship, is that you really need that guarantee that they're going to, if you book an excursion through the cruise line, that they will wait for you if they are running late. Um, when you get off the ship, it's your responsibility to get back on if you're not going through an excursion. So it's your responsibility to make it back in time. They will leave without you. They don't care. Sometimes they'll wait a few minutes to see if they can get you back on, but a lot of times they will leave you, and it is what it is. While you're at port, the ship is there. It's not like going somewhere else and then coming back. So you can get on and off the ship as you wish, but typically it's not always that you're either getting off or you're not. Um, if you are getting off the ship, the meals are typically on your own unless they're included in your excursion. You can come back on the ship for lunch if you are close by, but if you're not close by and you're in a town, then you're going to eat in that town. Um, so when you get off the ship, you are not always like in the city center. So understand that you might need to take a shuttle. And typically, your cruise line will have a free shuttle for you just going back and forth from the city center to where the cruise port is, if that's necessary. But sometimes you do need to pay. We found in Alaska and Juneau that if we wanted to go to the city center, we did need to pay if we weren't with an excursion. So just know that ahead of time also. Getting on and off the ship is not as hard as it seems, and all the information is typically in the app for you. And you also can ask anyone. There are ship excursion desks on every cruise line, so you can go and ask them. There was one excursion that we were on recently, and they kept changing the time, and the time was before we would get into port. And I was like, okay, how are we supposed to do this? How are we supposed to get off the ship before the ship makes it to port? And what the answer was is she was making sure that we all got there early enough because we had a very tight timeline, and that was the one that we missed our time to get back. So it's important that you really pay attention. They updated our tickets and they were paper tickets. They gave us new tickets in our room the night before and they kept updating the time. So it's important that you check the night before to see what it is, understand where you're supposed to meet, and try and follow those guidelines. A lot of times it's a hurry up and wait situation, unfortunately, and that's just how sometimes cruise lines work. So all right, that will do it for today's show about what to do on a cruise and how it works getting off with excursions. If you don't know what it's like to get on a cruise, make sure you check out that video and stay tuned in the future for our video about getting off and disembarking from a cruise. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification, and I will see you next time on Magical Travel Adventure. Bye!